where do I literally start, right? So regardless that we had many movies, some starring, I don't know, like Rey from Star Wars. You remember that? That disaster of a movie? Remember the Ghostbusters movie that had an all-female cast? But no, if I disagree with you, I'm misogynistic, right? I'm a sexist. If I disagree with anything remotely that has to do with women being in movies, regardless, I went to go see Alita Battle Angel. Oh, Alita, I'm sorry. I enjoyed that movie. Yeah, the movie actually had a lot of problems with it, but we'll get to that another time. And then there's Ripley from, Aliens, which is one of my all-time favorite female characters. It's in a horror movie, too. Like, she's not too overly ambiguously, sexy or anything like that. Like, she's actually a pretty strong character when it comes to Ripley as a character. I don't know why I'm not seeing any... Oh, there we go. There's Ripley. But when I go back and look at Aliens 2 now, I do realize the movie does have a lot of flaws, but then again, what movie doesn't, right? I mean, I do like Ripley as a character, but the entire plotline to Aliens 2, in a way, doesn't really make sense. Didn't really have to happen. Just send a drone or something. This is the future. Send a drone to the alien planet to actually see if the aliens existed, but I don't know. What am I to say? And then there's Arya Stark. I think Arya Stark is one of the best female characters I've seen in a long time. Like, I love her story arc. Regardless that she kind of went a little downhill in season 7 when she kind of went all Freddy Krueger on her sister. But still, she has one of the best story arcs in Game of Thrones. She is by far my favorite female character. Yes, I really don't like Daenerys Targaryen that much. I have my reasons for that. But really, when it comes down to it, Arya has always been one of my favorite female characters in Game of Thrones. And she's, she's really just a kid. It just feels like Captain Marvel just didn't get it. Like, they just didn't fucking get it. Like, what were these people, thinking when they casted this person? Like, it feels like a miscast. It feels like this person is purposely trying to be sexist. It feels like this person is acting like they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, they're acting like, oh, I'm the first female superhero. I mean, regardless that we had Ripley, and that we had, Wonder Woman from last year, and we had the Ghostbusters, which in a way, Ghostbusters in a way kind of like superheroes, I guess, if you really think about it, but I didn't really like the female Ghostbusters for a lot of reasons. Not because of star female cast members, just because, well, that movie fucking sucked. I'm sorry, it just sucked. I mean, when are they gonna learn that Mary Sue's just don't work in movies? Like, you have to give characters actual motivations to why they exist, why they're doing the things that they're doing, why they actually struggle. But in movies like The Last Jedi, like, Rey was just great just because of the chance of being great. Like, she had no real reason to be this badass Jedi master when she had no training. And for some reason, Disney hires these directors and doesn't realize this flaw. But I go back and I look at movies like Aliens 2, and again, Ripley is one of the most badass characters I've ever seen, and she's a female. But I didn't like her just because she's sexy. She's, she's okay looking, but as a character, like, she could basically handle herself, like, in a fight. And there's Alita Battle Angel. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm most likely pronouncing that wrong, but guess what? I don't really give two shits. But, I do like the anime genre a little bit. I do love anime, and I didn't really get to read or watch Alita from the anime. But before the movie came out, I got to familiarize myself with the story just a little bit. So I kind of knew what I was going into when I went to go see the movie. But then again, there are some people in the anime community that are already giving this movie such backlash for certain reasons. But then again, it's a movie that's supposed to be 2 hours long. Like, what can you really do? Can you really explain an entire season of Alita Battle Angel in one movie? No, you really can't. Like, look at Game of Thrones. They cut out a lot of shit from Game of Thrones. Look at Lord of the Rings. If they did the entire book for book, cover to cover of Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, that movie would have been at least 20 hours long. Like, we would have 20 seasons of Game of Thrones, which would be fucking amazing. But we know how it works. There's money involved, and people actually have to pay money for hiring actors, hiring production people, stuff like that. So, when it comes to a movie, they want to condense a movie to be at least 2 hours long. That seems to be the general rule of law in today's movie industry. So, I can understand why they cut out a lot of things for Alita Battle Angel. But then again, I went to go see Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman did cut out a lot of things from the comics. But then again, the movie is its own thing. The movie has its own universe. Like, yes, they're going to change some things, but then again, they changed some things for Iron Man 3, and I didn't like how they treated Mandarin, and I wanted to see the actual Mandarin, and I'm sorry, but Iron Man 3, that Mandarin is not the Mandarin. He's just not the Mandarin. I remember seeing Aliens 2, and I just, as a kid, like, yeah, it's a horror movie, but still, I loved the movie even as a kid. I think I was about 10 years old when I actually first watched the movie, and, I wasn't really all that scared because, I actually really do enjoy the character of Ripley, especially in Aliens 1 and 2, but we're not going to talk about Aliens 3 because Aliens 3 was an abomination to the entire franchise. It's really baffling that they act like Captain Marvel was this first great big box office slam when we had Wonder Woman and Alita Battle Angel, or at least well before Captain Marvel. Maybe they were getting their shit in a bundle because, well, Captain Marvel was the first female lead superhero Marvel movie, but not particularly the first female lead, but, we're getting there, right? Even though I arguably think that Black Widow is a better character than Captain Marvel, just my opinion. Like, what were they thinking when they hired this person? Like, what was the exact motivation? Like, did they really think she was a great actress? Like, did they like the way that she was promoting the movie? I do have a theory that they wanted to purposely cause a controversy this way. They wanted to purposely hire someone and say, hey, we want you to act this way in public so people can talk more about the movie. So maybe they wanted to make more money off the movie and off the controversy. Just maybe. But we never know what happens behind closed doors, especially when it goes at Disney. But then again, she hasn't been fired yet. So I don't know, man. If I was the CEO or the head of Disney or just any company and I had an actress or an employee treat customers this way, I would fire that person immediately. I do own 2 restaurants in the U.S. with my dad and my brother. So if I had an employee that acted like this and got people to not come to my store, like, yeah, okay, you're causing a problem. We should probably let you go. But then again, actors and actresses, they're an entirely different type of employee, right? They have fame, they have fortune, they have Twitter followers or whatever. But are you really trying to tell me you could not find a better actress than Brie Larson to play Captain Marvel? And that's the weird thing. They act like Captain Marvel is like the greatest superhero like ever to be graced in a comic book. Yet I remember back in the 90s when I was actually reading comic books, I didn't give 2 shits about Captain Marvel. And I know no one talked about Captain Marvel, but I do respect her as a character in the comic. Okay, she exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She existed in the comics. Okay, this is a person that exists in the comics. I acknowledge that. But to come out and act like she's the best thing since sliced bread and that there's been no other strong female characters, that's just spitting in the face of every single female character. Laura Croft, Alita Battle Angel, she is at least arguably worse than the Ghostbusters actors, right? Like, all 4 of them were so fucking boring. I'm sorry. This has nothing to do with being sexist once again. And that's what I just don't understand about this controversy. Like, they wanted to make a character and they didn't want her to be sexualized. They just wanted to prove they could make a strong female character that wasn't sexualized. But then we got Arya Stark, and Arya Stark, there's like no way she has been sexualized. Like, she is a strong character. She even acts like a boy sometimes. She even pretends to be a boy. And like, when you really think of Arya Stark, you just really think about her story arc. And I just failed to see how the people at Disney failed to see like characters like Arya Stark, failed to see characters like Ripley from Aliens 2. This type of shit makes no sense. If they wanted to truly cause a controversy, they could at least hire a better actress. She didn't have to be sexy, and that's the thing. They emphasize greatly, like, we don't want a sexy actress, we just want a strong actress, right? But, again, there are probably dozens of other actresses that could have been Captain Marvel. And once again, Captain Marvel was really not that popular in the comics. I didn't give 2 shits about her. Like, think about it. What does Captain Marvel actually do in the comics? She gets her powers from outer space. There was more than one Captain Marvel. She comes down to Earth. She saves Earth like one time. And then what happens? Rogue steals her powers. She's in a coma. I repeat, Captain Marvel is in a coma 50% of the time she's in the comics. And after that, like, once she wakes up from the coma, she's basically a side character. And then she has this weird thing with her son in the comics from the future. He goes back to impregnate her, to born a baby that is also her son, which makes no sense. Like, if you actually read the Captain Marvel comic books, they make no goddamn sense. I don't care who the fuck you are. I've read these comics. I've read DC and Marvel, and none of the Captain Marvel comics really intrigued me because they just made no goddamn sense from the beginning. And regardless that we had the Resident Evil 2 actresses, what's her name, Milo Mojovic, I'm not even gonna attempt that. But regardless of what side you stand on, if you liked Captain Marvel, congratulations. But I know shit when I see it. Like, this movie was beyond sexist. Like, what happens in the movie, right? So, I'm gonna go into a little spoiler territory. So, at the beginning of the movie, when she goes and gains her powers, or right before she gets her powers, she grows up, and throughout her entire existence, from childhood to adulthood, she is constantly told that you can't do it because you're a woman. You can't do it because you're a woman, which gives you these subliminal messages that, okay, we get it. Like, you are against men. We understand that. It's no big deal. And then there's a whole reason on why she gains her superpowers, which is from an explosion, which I don't really remember that being a thing in the comics, but they could have at least explained it a little better, because she gets the explosion, suddenly she has powers, but they don't really explain what the powers are or why she has these powers. Like, none of that. Oh my god, have you ever seen an actress act like Chopwood before? Like, this actress was acting like basically a cardboard box. Like I said, if you really like Brie Larson as an actress, I applaud you. That's cool. That's your thing. What I don't understand is the overhype this movie is getting. So people are saying this movie has hit the $750 million mark, which makes no fucking sense because no one has gone out to see this movie. You can go on Twitter, you can go on social media, you'll find that nobody went to go see this movie. Yeah, people went to go see this movie like the first 2 weeks it came out, but especially in the US, in China, the ticket sales for Captain Marvel has gone down drastically. Of course, China doesn't really have that same political correctness as, well, let's say the US, but when I do ask other Chinese people, have you seen Captain Marvel? I've only had one person that actually told me they went to go see Captain Marvel. And this has nothing to do with being sexist or misogynistic. It's just the movie is really not that appealing when you really think about it. No one really knows what this movie was even about when they went in. Yes, you know it's a movie about a superhero, but when you watch all the trailers are explaining to you what the movie is about. And that's what trailers are supposed to do. Trailers are supposed to trick you into not knowing what the movie is about. That's what trailers are supposed to do. They're supposed to entice you, intrigue you. Come see the movie, you know? It's an advertisement. But the movie literally tells you the entire plot. If you watch one trailer of Captain Marvel, guess what? You've seen Captain Marvel. What is this movie about? It's about nothing. It's about absolutely fucking nothing. Samuel Jackson's in this, but I will say this is probably the worst movie Samuel Jackson has ever been in. And I love Samuel Jackson. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. But even in this movie, he comes off as kind of bland. There are some jokes that hit and miss, especially with Samuel Jackson. But majority of the time, Brie Larson as a character has no emotion. She doesn't really show any regard or for her safety, or has no learning moment whatsoever. She's just a character that just goes from point A and point B. That is her character arc. And oh my god, the entire fight scenes, all the fight scenes in Captain Marvel were so goddamn boring. They were so boring that I even forgot what was happening in the movie, right? So there are people on Twitter, on the internet, that are saying that they watched this movie for about 30 minutes, they fell asleep, I repeat, they fell asleep, woke up 10 minutes later, and they're either with their boyfriend or girlfriend, or with their brother or something, and they ask them, what did I miss? And they usually replied with, nothing. You missed nothing. And you know, if you sleep in a movie for 10 minutes, and you know that you didn't miss a single goddamn thing when you wake up, your movie has something wrong with it. A movie is supposed to tell a narrative. It's supposed to give you a string of storyline, whether it's the main storyline, the main plot, or the subplot. The subplot are things that happen within the movie. The main storyline is the actual story of what's happening. Example, like Batman wants to take out the Joker, but on the side, he also has to go stop his sidekick, Jason Todd, from murdering a bunch of people, but his main goal is to take down the Joker before he kills more people. That is the main storyline. That is what a subplot is. Subplots are things that happen in a movie, like little mini stories. But even then, this movie's plot is very generic. It's so bland that I can't even fathom, like, okay, so if you've seen Thor Ragnarok, so if you've seen Thor 2, Thor 2 The Dark World is arguably one of the worst superhero movies of all time. Not of all time, but in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You get what I mean. Thor 2 The Dark World was so fucking boring that was the first Marvel movie that I personally actually fell asleep. I think I fell asleep for 5 minutes in that movie. Or I think at one time, I actually looked down at my phone because I was so uninterested in the movie. But people on Twitter are going out and saying, like, hey, people for Captain Marvel, they were doing the exact same thing. Not even like 20 minutes into this movie, people were already on their cell phones. And if people are on their cell phones not watching your movie, you know that there is a distinct problem with your product. And that's what movies are. They're a product. They're supposed to entice you. They're supposed to get you intrigued in the story. They're supposed to get you invested into coming back and wanting more. I honestly feel that every single scene was so goddamn boring that I almost forgot the entirety of what the movie was even about. I know that the Skrulls were in this movie, and that they were shape-shifting, and that she had to go after these Skrulls, but at the end of the movie, she goes and fights the Skrulls, but the actual last fight scene to the movie was so goddamn confusing, I didn't know what I was looking at. And if you have an action sequence where you have no idea what the fuck you're looking at, you know there is a genuine problem with your film. I'll give you an example of like why I'm not misogynistic, why I'm not sexist, because there is a movie that starred two men, two of the biggest comic book characters to ever grace the big screen, and to me it is one of the worst comic book movies to ever be on the big screen, and that is Batman vs. Superman. When I first saw Batman vs. Superman, I was so excited to actually see that movie. Like, yes, after 20 years of this movie being in production, I finally get to see Batman vs. Superman. But when I went to go see it the second time, I knew the movie had flaws the first time, especially with Batman blowing people away and shit. But when I went to go see it the second time, I was like, oh my god, I actually enjoyed this. I think I only enjoyed it because of the hype, because of the two characters who was in it, Batman and Superman. But the entire narrative of Batman vs. Superman is so fucking awful that I just cannot believe that that was the product they gave us. You're telling me in 20 years, 20 fucking years of this movie being in development, canceling the movie 3 fucking times, that is the movie you gave us. You gave us two of the most iconic superheroes of all time, and you basically spat in the face of every single fan. If you were a fan of Batman before, you were going to be greatly disappointed at seeing Batman vs. Superman. If you were a fan of Superman before, you were going to be greatly disappointed. Again, these are two of the most famous, most iconic superheroes to ever be in a movie, and they fucked it up. But yet, if we don't like Captain Marvel, if we don't like Ghostbusters, we are sexist. So, we're not allowed to not like movies anymore. Okay, if I don't like a movie, I'm a racist. If I didn't like Black Panther, I'm a racist. If I didn't like Captain Marvel, I'm a sexist. Like, people they can't make up their fucking mind. No, I didn't like Ghostbusters, the new one, because it fucking sucked. I did not like Captain Marvel because it was so fucking boring. Actually, I liked Black Panther. Yeah, the movie has a lot of flaws, but actually, I really did like Black Panther, believe it or not. But Batman vs. Superman, like, I could watch Black Panther, like, 100 times and I would be entertained. But Batman vs. Superman, it pisses me off every single time I watch that movie. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, Batman just killed a bitch. Like, Batman just blew someone away with a gun. You just took Zod and put him in some type of containment thingamabobber and mixed it with Lex's DNA, and that is Doomsday. No, if you did that, if you put Zod's DNA with Lex Luthor, it would be exactly what it is. It's a guy with Zod and Lex Luthor's DNA. It makes no goddamn sense like why that was Doomsday. Okay, yeah, that is a good point. In Batman vs. Superman, they threw away 3 big, epic plots, like, in the comics. You had the Doomsday, the death of Superman in Batman vs. Superman. Then you had Batman vs. Superman. And then you had the introduction of Wonder Woman, which she could have just been her own movie. Like, you didn't have to introduce Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman. She could have just been in a completely different character, a completely different movie. But no, you took three big plot lines. Again, but then again, Wonder Woman was probably the best thing in Batman vs. Superman, in my opinion. But that doesn't help that Batman is the world's greatest detective. He's the world's greatest detective. And you're telling me he could not figure out Clark Kent was Superman just by looking at him. That's what you're fucking telling me. You're telling me the world's greatest detective was standing in front of Superman and he did not realize Superman was standing in front of him. You're telling me the smartest man in the DC universe did not fucking realize Clark Kent was Superman. But Clark Kent figured out who Batman was just by listening to his voice, just by listening to Alfred talk to him. You just made Batman, one of the smartest characters in DC, look like a complete fucking dumbass. So yes, I cannot like a movie for various reasons. It doesn't make me misogynistic, doesn't make me a racist, doesn't make me a sexist. I didn't like Captain Marvel because Captain Marvel sucks. And I'm not really trying to attack the movie, I'm just trying to make a point. You don't have to like something to fit into a political narrative. You don't have to like something. You didn't have to like Ghostbusters just because it had an all-female cast. No, Ghostbusters sucked. It had nothing to do with it being a female cast. You can make a Ghostbusters movie with a female cast, but could you make the movie good? You could have made a Captain Marvel movie that actually was worth the damn, but no, you gave us a movie with an actress that acted like chalkwood. I've seen 5-year-old actors act better than Brie Larson. I'm not even fucking kidding. Jerry Maguire. How old was that kid? That kid was 5 years old. I seen more emotions out of that fucking kid than Brie Larson in this movie. There are children that act better than a well-known actress as Brie Larson, and that is so fucking baffling. Disney, a company with billions of dollars, thought it would be great to hire an actress that has no fucking skills whatsoever. This is $1 million movie that you put your money into, and you know that they lied about these sale tickets. They lied about the sales tickets because, well, okay, I can defend that because movies actually do that all the time. They want to hype their movie up so they'll buy their own tickets in sales. I get that. But I think what happened was Disney knew that no one was going to go see this movie, and guess what? This movie had a 70% drop in sales tickets. When your movie has 70% drops in sales tickets in not even a month, there is a fucking problem. At least with Batman vs. Superman, people were going back to see that. Yeah, there were drops in sales tickets, but at least the movie made some decent money within the course of a month. But no, not even a week after Captain Marvel's release, the sales tickets dropped. But then again, I still think Batman vs. Superman is far worse movie than Captain Marvel. I think Batman vs. Superman is going to be one of the most disappointing movies to ever grace the comic book world, and they're going to talk about it for years to come, but the same thing for Captain Marvel. Again, Disney, a billion-dollar company, a company that owns the rights to Star Wars, they own the right to Marvel, and now they own the right to Fox, right? Now, yeah, 20th century, they own the right, they just bought Fox, right? But you're telling me, out of all the people that work at their studio, they could not find an actress that could actually act. And you have these people that are praising this movie like it's the best thing since sliced bread. Oh, look at these trolls. Like, these trolls didn't know what they were talking about. They were just being sexist. They were just being misogynistic. Oh, I guess I'm a fucking sexist now. I guess I don't like women just because I didn't like one movie that starred a female. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm a sexist now. Like, what is it with the U.S. now? Like, what is it with this political correctness? Like, you can't like something. I thought that was the entire point of free speech, the entire point of freedom of expression. But no, for some reason people are backwards. Because nowadays it is, you're guilty until proven innocent. It was actually the other way around. You're actually innocent until proven guilty. But, I don't know. We live in a world where people can accuse someone of sexual misconduct with no proof whatsoever. Like the whole Kick Vic and I Stand With Vic controversy, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel like we're going backwards as a society. That the whole, you know, the United States of America has one of the biggest movie industries in the world. You know, countries like India, even China, Japan, England, they try to copy the U.S. movie industry. We actually have something to give people. We actually, and also, you know, the United States movie industry is one of the biggest money makers for America. And yet, for some reason, countries like China, England, India, like, they're catching up. They're fucking catching up. They don't give a shit about that political correctness shit. You see what's happening with Japan? Like, there are feminists trying to attack Japanese animes just because the females in the animes are over-sexualized. But you know what those directors actually said? Like, we don't care. It makes money. It makes money. I repeat, it makes money, right? Because sex sells. I remember back when I was in college, my professor told me 3 things sell in movies: sex, violence, and tragedy. That's it. When people go see a movie, when they read a storyline, that's what they want to hear. That's what they want to see 90% of the time. They want to see a movie or a story that has something to do with sex. What is sex? Well, it has to do with relationships, like a boyfriend and girlfriend, or maybe a girl on girl. You know, that is sex. That is something that's enticing. There's violence. Every story, just about every single story you can think of, has violence. And then there's tragedy. There are lots of stories out there that have to do with tragedy. And when you don't have any of these 3 things in your film, when your character of Captain Marvel doesn't even have A, a sex appeal, B, doesn't really have a good action sequence, or C, tragedy doesn't really go through a character arc, you know there's something wrong with your movie. We've been doing these 3 formulas for a long time. Think about it. Every single movie you like has followed under these 3 principles. It has something to do with sex. It has something to do with violence. It has something to do with tragedy. And when your film doesn't have at least one of these 3 things, people are not going to see it. Yes, I will agree. There are movies out there that shy away from those 3 rules, or those 3 principles of storytelling. There are actually 7 different rules of storytelling, which I can get into that in another video, because actually I don't remember all 7 rules right now, but I remember those 3 things being the most pivotal things in a story. In America, one of the biggest movie-making industries in the world is somehow going backwards. It used to be about freedom of expression. You make a movie to get people to be interested in your story. You make a movie to show your art. Like, hey, this is what I want to show you. But then again, I guess feminism is becoming a form of art for some weird reason. And you know what? I probably did get a few facts wrong. You know, I'm a human being. I'm able to get some facts wrong. And that's just what's wrong with the world. You know, you can't say your opinion and then make a wrong choice and suddenly like, oh, you're a villain. You know why? Because we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. It's okay. But we live in this PC culture that if you make one fucking mistake, like, your life is over. Like, if you make one mistake, like, you cannot come back from that. Human beings are very flawed. There is not one human being on this planet that has not been flawed. Think about it. Every single ruler in history, every single politician has something fucking wrong with them. Think about it. Every single actor and actress that has been in a movie has something wrong with that person, or they will have something wrong with them. Every single human being is flawed. We are all flawed. No one is perfect. But we now live in a society that people think like, oh, if you're not perfect, fuck you. Whatever. Like, oh, if you're not a Catholic, fuck you. Or if you're not Muslim, fuck you. Or if you're not an atheist, fuck you. Like, I thought the entire point of living in the United States was looking at each other's differences, looking at each other's races and cultures, and like, okay, well, we live in a mixed society in the United States of America. That is something that we should at least grasp. That's something that we should be happy about. But no, we want to bash people for having different opinions and different logics. But then again, the last time I checked, diversity was actually a good thing. There are people that attack multiculturalism, but actually, I personally think multiculturalism is actually a good thing. You know why? Because it's proven time and time and again that a diverse group of people has a better chance of survival than a group of one-minded people or one-race people. It's true. You can actually look up the statistic, you know? But then again, you have the internet. You're probably going to ask me, oh, can you show the facts? Well, you can actually Google it. You have the internet. And that's something I don't understand about people right now. Like, people have the power of the internet. In the United States of America, you can look up so many facts by looking on the internet, but people just don't know how to use the internet, which is so fucking confusing. Like, okay, you want facts, you want to look at facts, but you can't look on the internet. Yes, the internet is full of lies, but it's very easy to figure out what's a lie and what's not. There's a lot of fake advertisements, there's a lot of fake, I don't know, YouTube clickbait videos, or whatever. Well, what do I know? I just live in a society too, and I grew up in the 90s, where I clearly saw a bunch of diversity. In the 90s, I remember there being white actors and black actors being in the same movie. I remember a lot of the best boxers, singers were actually black. I remember some of my favorite characters were actually female, but no, we're sexist just because we don't like one movie. So, I don't know where this controversy is coming from. Like, this movie sucks. And I don't know why I went on this rant, but I just feel like someone has to say it. Regardless if I'm probably wrong with 90% of the things I said, but that's okay. I'm a human being. I'm allowed to make mistakes. And so are you. You know what? Brie Larson, she's probably a good person. For all, I don't know her as a person. She's probably a good human being. But from what I've seen in this whole Captain Marvel controversy, she does not come off that way. But it's the internet. Like I said, I don't know Brie Larson as a person, but I'm just saying she sucks as an actress. And I'm saying this movie fucking sucks. I hated Ghostbusters 3. Alien 2 was awesome. Arya Stark is a fucking badass. And Wonder Woman is still the best comic book female character that's ever been in a movie. So, anyways, guys, that's all I'm going to say. I'll see you guys later. Enjoy my rant. You guys can have a great day. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Don't forget to tell me what a dumbass I am in the comments. Or we can be friends. You can leave a comment and we can be friends. You know, I'm actually a nice guy. I may come off as an asshole, but I promise you, we can be friends if we just talked. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out.